Good afternoon, everyone. This is Robert Radford with 50 Years of Chess. I want to bring you a really interesting game now. It was played in 2014. My opponent was Stephen Meek, a good friend of mine. We were teammates at South Bristol Chess Club. This was in the South Bristol Club Championship that we were paired together in this match. And Steve was doing very well at that time. He just got what I think is the best rating he'd ever had, which was he surpassed the 200 mark, 203 in fact, which is in ELO rating that would be 2200. So that was a great time for him, and he's already a regional master. He was a regional master some time back, and when we played, and so I'm going to show you this game now. I'm playing white, and this is how it went. I played f4, which is the bird's opening, knight f6, knight f3, and now with g3 I'm going into the Leningrad Dutch reversed after bird's opening, which gives white an extra move. And castle d3, d3, d5, castles, that's right, castles, bishop d7, queen e1. This is necessary because before I can push the e pawn, I have to have the queen behind, not the rook, because if I play e4 with the rook behind it, then he can play pawn takes pawn. I have to play pawn takes pawn. He plays queen takes queen, rook takes queen, and then he takes the e pawn with the knight. Castle c3. This is the just to put a bolster against the dragon bishop on g7, because that a1 h8 diagonal is very important to black if that wasn't played. b6, knight a3. This is to prepare the knight to be able to go into b5 or c4 at a later date after the black d-pawn is pushed on. He's playing rook behind his pawn on e8, getting ready to push that pawn. So I've got to get him first before he does with d4. Pawn takes, and then he plays e5. I take, and I expected him to play knight takes, but he never. He decided to go knight g4. I don't think this was right, but Stephen liked it at the time, and but there was a flaw to it because there's a move he overlooked, which he mentions about in the video when you can hear our thoughts as we're playing the game. That he was this is changed everything in this game. Bishop g5, f6, pawn takes, bishop takes. And now I got this great opportunity of bringing my rook on a1 to d1 into the game, and my game is just perfect. It's going lovely. I couldn't have asked for it to be better. It's a nice, clear, precise, flowing game for white, but black is struggling. He's still got a knight on c6 that is unprotected, and it can be skewered against his rook on a8, which is also unprotected if this bishop gets a pop at it. But for that, the pawn would have to be out of the way, and so would the knight. So let's see what happens. He played queen e7, bishop takes, knight takes. I push the pawn on, so that's the pawn out of the way. And he moves his knight to h5. This is good in one respect because it can go back to g7 and d6, or even to f5 if he wants to make use of that knight in a better way. So now I played knight into d4, offering my knight so that I can get his knight and fork the two rooks at the same time. So Stephen takes the knight, and I took his knight. So now I have two rooks to pick from to go the exchange up. Now in this game, I never noticed at the time, but Stephen mentioned in his video quite correctly that after he played bishop a6 attacking my rook, I can in fact play bishop takes rook. He plays bishop takes rook, Then I could have come back with my bishop to d5, check, and when the king moves, I take the rook with my queen or my pawn, with my king. And I would have been a clear piece up instead of just exchange. But I gotta be honest, I didn't see it at the time. But I was a bit excited because I was in a really good position here against Steve. So I played c4 instead to block out the bishop. And he moved his rook on a to d8, and I took the rook on e8. So he took it with his queen, and I went queen e4. So we're rounding up on this pawn here now, and this is good because he's not able to touch me now at this moment. I've got a great pass pawn in the centre. I'm a pawn up, but I've got a better position as well. Look at my two rooks, beautifully placed. His bishop is not doing anything there, but after he played queen e7, I noticed that I see his plan. If I take the d-pawn with my rook, he can go queen c5, pinning the rook to the king. So then I bring the other rook behind it, and then he can play bishop b7. And that is really dangerous. Really dangerous, because if he gets his queen and bishop on that a8 h1 diagonal, then he will probably checkmate me. So I was ready for this. I played rook takes pawn. He played the queen pinning. I played the rook behind, then he played the bishop there. So what was I going to do about this? I can't play rook takes rook because I'm pinned. If I take the bishop, you take rook takes rook. And then rook takes rook would lead to queen takes rook, and it'd be unpleasant. So the answer that I found was b4. Perfect. Perfect. It breaks the pin that Stephen has on my rook. So he thought about it and he played rook takes rook, queen takes rook. He's not going to go queen c6, threatening mate, because I can go queen d5 check and exchange queens, and it's a one game for me. So he took the pawn, and it's just one pawn down. And at this stage, Stockfish is showing me 5.4 on the graph. So I'm winning. This game is already won. I've just got to play it right. I could have played knight c2, which is probably the best move, but I really wanted that bishop off the board. So I played queen d8 check. He played king g7, queen c7 check, king h6, and queen takes bishop. I was very relieved to get this bishop off the board, and Stephen took the knight, obviously. And then I played queen e4 to centralise my king. A friend of mine, Ron Kimmins, once said to me, he was a fellow bus driver, and we played together at Bristol Omnibus Chess Club. He said to me, Bob, he said, when you're playing chess, because I was just in the early stages and he was teaching me a bit, he said, you got to remember, when you're winning, you've got to win a one game. And a lot of people don't win a one game, they lose them. They've let the opponent escape or manage to win the game somehow. He said, you've got to try and make sure that doesn't happen in games. He said, that's how you really get on in chess. So I took that to heart. So I returned my queen to e4 now, where it's perfectly safe. He's welcome to that a pawn, but he won't be able to stop my advance with my e pawn if he does those sort of things. So he went queen a4, just hoping that I may have not noticed my rook is en-prise or unprotected. So after that little cheapo, I played queen e3 check. He went back to g7, and then I put my queen now behind the pawn. So I'm protecting the rook. I'm also got a nasty little threat of e6 with a tempi of getting my pawn further up the board with a check. So he went queen to a3 in desperation now, and he admitted that he felt the game was lost. There's not much he could do. He's 7.1 down on Stockfish. He's just hoping for some kind of swindle. Looking at knight takes on g3, pawn takes, queen takes check, and then maybe just check me to death somehow with perpetuals. But I was ready for this. I pushed my pawn on, attacking that knight, and so he came into g3. Now this knight on g3 cannot be allowed to go to e2 and win my queen in a fort. So I pushed on with pawn check. He went on to the back rank, and then I come back to f2, threatening knight in 2 moves with queen f7 check, and then rook d8 mate. So he had to block that, so he played his knight back to f5, and I took with the pawn. So Stephen now played queen a4. Again, he's trying that little cheapy one on me, with hoping that I've left the rook en prey. He told me his game was totally busted, and he knew it was lost. I have a mate in 4 here, as Stockfish shows, with rook d8 check. The queen comes back to e8, rook takes, e8 check, king g7, f6 check, king h6, and queen h4 mate. But I didn't see it at the time, because I was thinking differently. I played queen into d4. I just didn't want him to have any opportunities of getting into this game whatsoever. So he played queen c2. Steve played queen a4 because he felt he had to try to stop that pawn going on to e8 and getting a queen. And but it didn't matter, because I just played queen down check. As I said earlier, king f8 and then king f7 and then queen f8 mate. So there you are, that was the game. It was a really, really big one for me, because Steve was the highest rated player I'd ever beaten. I hadn't ever beaten him before, only in friendly chess games that we were playing at the club, never in anything serious. There was a quick play at South Bristol, but he really gave me a belting in that game, and it was unpleasant, painful, and he's also beaten me in down in quick play, down in buzzer tournament as well. So yeah, Steve's a great player, good friend. I'm glad to have met him, glad to know him, and I wish him all the best, and I hope he won't be offended that I've put this game on my 50 years of chess, because if I never, it'd be absolutely criminal not to put that in when I'm showing so many games of my past 50 years. So I hope you enjoy this one, and if you wish to comment, let me know what you think about this game or any of the games. I'm a big boy. If it's positive or negative, I don't mind. Just if you wish to speak to me, do so please. Thank you.